pledge allegiance before we get started. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. Morning, everyone. We'll call our January 26th Pollution Control and Ecology Commission to order. The clerk, please call the roll.
Al Eckert. Richard McMullen.
Here.
Doug Melton.
Here.
Rusty Moss. Chris Bracey.
Here.
David Vandergriff.
Here.
Wes Ford.
I believe Secretary Ward was going to join. Oh, is that correct?
Yeah, I guess not.
That was my understanding, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I declare a quorum. Everyone has the minutes from our previous meeting on December 1. Are there any changes, amendments, corrections anyone would like to propose? If not, I accept a motion on those. So moved. Move adoption by David and second by Rusty. Any discussion? Those in favor of adoption of the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we've got a number of things to go through today. I guess I would remind everyone that if you want to address the commission during the public comment session, you need to fill out one of the cards that are available over the table and bring that up to me. I guess first on our agenda today is a minute order on the reimbursement stipends for 2024. Chair is open to a motion on those. So moved. Move the adoption of the reimbursement stipends. Second by Commissioner Rusty. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please. Yes.
Doug Melton.
Yes.
Rusty Moss.
Yes.
Chris Bracey.
Yes.
David Vandergriff.
Yes.
Wes Ford.
Yep. Thank you, Secretary Ward. So we're all here now. Okay. Next item is a report from our Chief Administrator, Mr. Osborne.
Before I give my report, Secretary Corey had mentioned that he would like to come share a few updates with you all since we're starting the new year, first meeting of the year. So I'll cede a portion of my report to him and he'll come. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Good morning. I promise I'll try to be quick. I know we have a lot of county judges and elected officials and you all have a lot on your agenda for today. But I just wanted to kind of go over a few things that we've been working on at the department level to give you all an update. It's been a meeting or two since I've been able to be here and participate with you all. But first of all, good news is yesterday and then this morning, all of the departments,
Secretary, can you speak up a little bit? I don't know if this is about this morning.
How about that? Any better?
Commissioner, can you hear better?
Volume. All right, I'll try to speak up a little bit. But some of you may know that in 2017, the legislature passed an act that required all agencies to review all rules that had been promulgated up until that point. And it was kind of a process of making sure that all of the agency's rules that had been adopted, were properly filed with the state library and the Secretary of State. And it was a process that all agencies went through. I was highly involved at that point in time with the Oil and Gas Commission rules and regulations. And basically you had to ask whether you wanted to either sunset some of those rules or continue rules in effect. And I know that specifically on the oil and gas side that we did sunset a few, but most of them we asked to continue in effect. PC&E went through a similar process with DEQ. Since 2017, that process has continued on. And now there is a sunset of every administrative rule that's ever promulgated by any state agency that will automatically occur every 24 years unless the department or the agency asks for it to be continued. And they basically, they divided the agencies up into 6 groups every 6 years, or every year there's some review. Our department happened to be one of the earlier ones. We had our review by the Rules Committee yesterday, and then full ALC approved it today. So I guess I'm happy to report that all of the existing PC&E Commission rules and the Oil and Gas Commissions and Liquefied Petroleum Gas Board rules that we asked to be continued, which are all the existing ones at this point in time, were approved by the legislature. That had nothing to do with our regular rulemaking process, your triennial reviews, any amendments. That is just basically, I think it came out of that Red Tape Reduction Act committee that was active in the legislature, so that basically all rules sunset unless they're approved. So we had good news yesterday, and then finalization today of our standard rules being recommended. And the good news is we don't have to do that for 24 years. So probably most of us won't be here the next time they go through that particular process. You may also know that the department is working with BLR. There's a codification of all administrative rules that's going on in the state. It's kind of been a 2 or 3 year process we've been working on. I think we're supposed to have another year or two, but all of those rules will then be codified. We're one of the few states that hasn't actually codified administrative rules, but we are working with that for not only the PC&E rules, but all the entities within the Department of Energy and Environment that have administrative rules. Secondly, some of you may have heard about the lithium opportunities that are coming up in South Arkansas, and I just wanted to make you aware that there is an Arkansas Lithium Innovation Summit that's going to occur in Little Rock on February 14th and 15th. That's a Thursday and a Friday. The summit's going to start at 9 a.m. on Thursday, and I think it'll end around noon on Friday. Department of Commerce is involved, Department of Finance Administration, our Department of Energy and Environment, and a lot of industry is involved in that. It's kind of an inaugural event. It's really to look at and explore the possibilities and the potential, not only from the production side of lithium, but maybe the manufacturing side and how you bring that industry into South Arkansas. So if anyone's interested, I will send Judge Melton the Eventbrite link. Anybody wants to sign up and attend for that. I know the spaces are limited and they're filling fast, but I just wanted to put that on your radar in case that was something you had interest in. Kind of along those same lines, we have worked with the Arkansas Bar Association. I know there are some of your attorneys, and we have attorneys in the room. And for years, we've had a Natural Resources Law Institute that was held in 1 month. And we've also had the Environmental Law Conference that was held in another part of the state in a different month. And a lot of those kind of cross our department now between that consolidated to energy and environment. So we have worked with them. We're going to have both of those sections will be holding basically simultaneous sessions at the same place on the same night. And that's going to be March 13th, 14th, and 15th in Hot Springs. Each of them have their own tracks, but there is one joint session. I think it's on that Thursday morning where the department will do all its presentations for both sections. It'll be a combined joint session, but if you need CLE hours, I think that's a great thing to come be a part of. It's going to be in Hot Springs, March 13th, 14th, and 15th. One other item I want to talk about briefly that I've been involved with, you might have heard about the governor's capital for a day. And I just want to encourage you all, if you have an opportunity to attend one, what the governor has decided to do is she will declare a city a capital for the day, and she will go along with members of her staff and then ask representatives, myself, secretaries, or other representatives from the departments to go. And we do different events in that community for that day. And there's always at least one opportunity for the public to come and hear her speak, to hear about what the agencies and the departments are doing, and for constituents to ask questions. So we've done 5 or 6, maybe 7 of those so far. We have the next one coming up at Mountain Home. I'm not sure the governor's released the date, but it's coming up soon. So we're going to be in Mountain Home soon. But I know you all are from different parts of the state, but keep a lookout for that. And I think that's a great opportunity for constituents and citizens that don't live in Little Rock to have an opportunity to visit with state government officials and ask questions, have their questions answered. And we get to tour a lot of great facilities, be involved with the community, work with the local legislators and city and county officials. And just want to encourage you all, if you happen to hear one coming to your area, that you might want to do that as well. Last thing I'll mention, I just want to, I don't want to go into detail because I really honestly don't have a whole lot of details for you, but it's been in the news. So I wanted to give you my perspective of where we are on some air monitoring that we asked at the department level regarding the Town landfill. So in December, we started getting a lot of complaints. And I know you all, PC&E Commission specifically, involved in the field and lawsuits, DEQ specifically has the regulatory side of that. But the air monitoring piece, I asked at the department level, the 61st National Guard, Air National Guard, and their cabinet secretary to conduct some air sampling sometime in December. They went out, they did a 24-hour test. Basically, those results, I would say, were a little bit inconclusive, and their recommendation was to go back and do a 5-day air monitoring test. And we have basically worked with that. We had a time schedule. The ice storm came, so we weren't able to do it. But I would say sometime in the next few weeks, we will have members of the Air National Guard out there, and we're going to do what they recommended in that 5-day test. I'll be working on that. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, kind of where we are. We're hoping that we'll have a lot more information after that 5-day test. I've talked with the members of the Department of Health and obviously the Air National Guard and the military department. So we're trying to gather some information. I don't have a lot of results, but just wanted to, I know that some of you live in that area or you've seen it in the news, and that's kind of why we asked you. So with that, unless there are any questions for me, I will give it back to DEQ Director and Chief Administrator Osborne for his report.
Anyone have any questions of Secretary Tour? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Secretary. A couple things. He always takes a lot of the fun stuff, like talking about the lithium summit and all that. So a few things. Really, these are primarily updates on things we've talked about before, but wanted to confirm where we are. As of now, our SEEK, our data management system that we have talked about, I think in my last report, shared that we were going to go live beginning of January. We are now live for our regulated storage tank registrations, our asbestos program, and our construction stormwater general permit. So we have now shifted over our electronic submissions on all these to our new platform, and we'll continue on this, rolling over more and more of our programs to this. There are a large number of features and benefits that will come for our permittees from doing this. It'll also integrate better into some of our inspection and compliance work that we do. We think this will be a significant improvement on how we conduct our daily operations, but also how we interface and engage with the public. We've received a lot of questions from some members of the public as they work on either transitioning existing registrations from our old our ongoing, but soon to be replaced ePortal platform. And then others who this is new for them. A couple of these programs, this is kind of all new. So we have some tutorial instructional videos we put out on our I believe it's on the E&E YouTube page. There's actually a playlist that we've created to do that, and we're going to continue to supplement those, trying to find different ways to engage and help the public understand what we're doing. We're also fielding a lot of questions and doing a lot of answering and troubleshooting with folks as it goes. But we're kind of trying to hit everybody on all fronts and bring them along with us, because we think not only will we function better, but we'll serve the public better with this. And we're really grateful to our team. We've had there's a core team of about 5 or 6 people internally that have been working on this. They worked have been for a long time, but went into a whole other gear through the end of November, December, and beginning of January to get this done. And they are really giving some wonderful benefits for the agency. And so we're grateful to them. At some point, I thought about asking them to be here today, but I think that's probably the last thing. That would have been like punishment rather than a gratitude for their work. But one of these days we may bring them in here to acknowledge them and celebrate them in a more public way. We also have a lot of people internally to our various sections that have been part of this heavy lift in sort of bits and pieces and carried on apart. So it's really been and had a meeting with our team, all DEQ teams. We kind of had a Zoom call earlier this week, and I stressed with them that I view this as an entire team effort, and we really do view it that way and are appreciative of their work. We mentioned last time our energy and environment innovation plan that our Office of Air Quality is working on. The deadline for that is going to be for the first deliverable that's required by EPA is March 1st. we are even now routing what we hope is a final draft. We've completed all those stakeholder meetings that I had shared with you all. A number of really cool projects that could be very beneficial for the state were brought up in those, and so we're refining that and completing the plan and teeing up for stakeholders and others that are interested in pursuing some of these projects for another follow-on application cycle that will come for April 1st. So there's gonna be a quick turnaround. So there's a lot that's gonna be going on, and so hopefully by next meeting, if not by our March meeting, I think we'll have some more detail about some of the projects and things we want to highlight. But this has really helped us build some good partnerships and continue to cultivate that. I did want to highlight something that was a big deal for the state that happened in December, shortly after we met last time. The Mississippi River Gulf of Mexico Hypoxia Task Force, which draws from states through the entire Mississippi River Basin, actually met in Fayetteville, and I guess it was mid-December, I think second week of December. It's unfortunate that Secretary Ward's not here in person. His team at the Natural Resources Division participates in that. They're the formal representatives for the state, and they talked them into coming and hosted them here in Northwest Arkansas. So we're excited to have them there. Opportunity to do that. We had folks from a number of states and also some folks from EPA headquarters that came down, and we hope that one showcased what a wonderful place Arkansas is, which we always want to do. Two, I think it helped make some of those places in Northwest Arkansas that we're engaging in conversations with EPA about, gave them some boots on the ground, kind of first person experience with that. So we're excited about that. We're very grateful for the work that Ag and Natural Resources Division has done. Ryan Benefit, some of y'all may know, was the point person on, I think he's our formal representative on that. He did great work, but really the whole team, and Secretary Ward should be very proud of them and the work they did. And as we said, we're always happy to show off Arkansas. Did want to mention that I think I mentioned last time that we have a new associate director for both air and water quality, and they're both here today. Stacy Wassel with Office of Water Quality, and Demetria Kimbrough, who's Office of Air Quality. So they're here, and wanted them to be present and be around to get to know and see some folks. And so we appreciate them. They're off to a wonderful start. Continue to lead those teams to great effect. And so I think that is where I'll conclude for now, and unless there's any questions.
Yeah. You'd be heartbroken if I didn't have interface with you.
Well, we have a few things on the agenda. I figured you maybe were saving your time for that. What I gotta tell you, big word.
I hate to pick at a wound, but I have had inquiries in regards to our nutrient trading program. I would like to see that back on our agenda for rulemaking. Northwest Arkansas has accumulated $1 million. They're ready to do some demonstration projects. They're anxious to get this going and addressing some of the water quality issues up there. And I know there's some background issues that you're wanting to deal with, but I really think it's time for us to put that on our agenda and start that rulemaking. I was wondering if we might expect that perhaps at our next meeting.
I don't know that I can commit. I can tell you that we're working on it, and Stacy Wassel and I talked about it earlier this week, walking through kind of some updates that we want to make from the previous, catching up the previous version that NANTRAG and the work that they did a few years ago. It's a really great start. There's some additional things that we want to make or want to tweak, and we've been working through that. So it is in the works. I don't know I can commit that we're ready for next meeting. In part because, as the secretary mentioned, we have a couple of other rulemakings that are coming very, very close, that are required from last session, that we're trying to catch those up. But it should be very soon, and we need it to move quickly for some of the other items that we're working on in Northwest Arkansas. So that's going to be the problem.
There's a great deal of anxiety why this thing has sat for so long, and people are looking forward to some certain date. So would it be asking too much for you to pick a date, bring something to us?
We'll work on that and see if we can give you a good estimated date that we're working towards.
I don't think that's going to be satisfactory to people in Northwest Arkansas.
Well,
I don't want to push hard, but I don't think it's unreasonable for us to pick a date and try to shoot for something. This thing is languished. This is 10 years to the day almost But this whole program started in 2014. And I really think it's time for us to move forward with this.
Yep.
And I know you want to make some improvements to it, but I don't know that that's an impossibility by going ahead and putting that on our docket for us to start the meeting.
I think we can certainly come back next month. We can come back next month with a proposed date of when we think we can have it. I don't think we'll have a rule ready for initiation, but we can talk about a date next month. So. And I understand we've talked to this, we've talked to the same stakeholders. I think you're talking to you. We understand their urgency. I can assure you of that.
Well, I think this commission is prepared to pick a date for you, and I would rather us not do that.
I would ask the commission not to do that.
So
Be
you're
honest
gonna
with
give
you.
us a date next month? Our next meeting?
Yes, sir. We will give you a date next
All
month.
right, that's, I'll accept your gentlemanly commitment. Thank you for that. Anyone have anything else, Mr. Osborne? Thank you. Now is the time for our period of public comments. Does anyone else have anything they would like to fill out a card and visit with us about? We'd like for you to try to stick to 3 minutes if possible. First is Mr. Calcagney. Welcome back to Little Rock, Mark.
Yeah, always good to be here in Little Rock. Mark Calcagney, Tawny Town, Arkansas, and I appreciate the public comment time, and I'll be very brief because I know we're going to be talking about tires here. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Corey on the update on the air testing in our neighborhood in Tawny Town. So thank you for the update. I didn't plan on coming today. I was kind of shamed into coming by my wife, and happy wife, happy life. We were at church last weekend, and two of the elderly ladies cornered us, and they were part of our citizens legal group that we hired a citizens lawyer to represent us, and we ran out of money after $46,000. So that's why our lawyer is. I know that was questioned last time here. So these ladies were one very elderly, and one of them was on oxygen. And my wife says, "You got to come and talk," and they had some questions for me. And, I'm going to be brief on this, and I won't get into it, and I know I'm not supposed to. But the ladies both asked me if this commission had a conscience. And I said, I knew one of them did, but I felt like the Department of Energy and these two departments of energy try to make us feel like we're crazy, and I always leave here and I always go home with my tail between my leg because I always feel like that I'm doing something wrong with public comment, but I try not to do that. The ladies asked a couple questions. They asked, did they know this, the commission know about the red dye test that was done and it flowed into Wildcat Creek, which flows into the Illinois River? I said, they do. I said, and they asked, do they know about the National Guard air test that was ran here in December 2021, that had high levels of sulfur dioxide, which is known to be bad for your health. And these ladies said, we've complained over 3 years about gases, just not odors in this area. And they're neighbors of ours as well. And then they asked, why doesn't the unanimous Tawny Town City Council rejection of the landfill expansion mean anything? So I'm going to stop there. I won't go any further because I know I'm really not supposed to. But, being with this commission, most of you have legal backgrounds. And I noticed, Patricia, you record the minutes. And I want this recorded because I have a beef about the city of Tawny Town. And I'm sad that the mayor's not here, but I guess they're opening up a new fire station and she wasn't able to make it. But my beef with them is just that I got pulled over by the city of Tawny Town for going 48 miles per hour. Last year, the speed limit was 40 miles per hour, and I got pulled over for 48. And they changed the speed limit to 50 over a year ago. And so I'm just kind of wondering, why I got pulled over for going 48 and a 40. And so the reason I bring this up is because I don't know if this resonates, 2203 and 2204, with the new the resolution with the city. Another issue with the city is I have a friend who has rented property with a building on it from the city. Now the city does not want to rent it anymore, and my friend does not want to pay the city. The city says he must rent, as it's part of the contract, and they're providing a service. I don't know if this sounds familiar because on the tipping fees, because the city of Tinetown is providing a service to waste management. Lastly, I'm going to quit here and not go any further, but it's kind of disappointing. And like I said, I usually feel like when I leave here, I feel like I'm dejected and go home with my tail between my legs, because it seems to me big corporations' money funding these two agencies trumps the health and safety of taxpaying residents. Pollution control and environmental quality doesn't seem the priority here. There should be an end date as all the facts line up on this landfill, but maybe there is no conscience here. Thank you.
Okay. We love having you come. We would.
I know I'm a pain in the neck, but I'm sorry. So, thank you.
Judge McMillan.
Let's see, Mr. Melton and members of the commission. I'm Rusty McMillan, Greene County Judge, and a number of judges that are here today in consideration of what you'll be looking at for the business plans for each of the 4 tire districts. We appreciate your consideration of those plans, although we do present them with the understanding that there's still a shortfall that will occur if those plans are approved. But with that, we've had challenges. I've been in office. Will be my 10th year, and even prior to 2015, a number of these judges that have been in longer than I have expressed these same concerns, even prior to that time and in the 2017 legislation, as well as the 2023 legislation. So if these are approved, we'll try to work within the letter of the law, but we do hope that we would have the support of this commission that we would need to appeal to the legislature for making up and bridging the gap of any monies that are not available for the abatement or the tire processing and also for abatement programs throughout the state.
You want to have any questions, Judge?
Thank you, sir.
Next is Johnny Martin. Welcome, Judge Hart.
Thank you,
For
sir.
many, many years. You probably don't remember me, but I remember you. And it was a good time.
It was a good, okay, I think we'll get
It was good context. So welcome this morning. Please share with us.
I'm here today to represent actually counties. I'm here today to represent, I have the dubious distinction of being the chair of the West River Valley Solid Waste Management District Board and the newly created UTP-1 board. Been my 24th year, okay? Been around long. And I really commend it because what we're dealing with in this situation with these newly created boards, it's got to be a team effort, as you can well tell by the letter that was put out. It's like Judge McMillan said, we've got a little bit of a funding shortfall. And I think and I want to say this publicly to Shane Corey, I appreciate y'all for doing what you've done, because they've stepped up. They're putting every penny into this thing they can. Director, I appreciate you for that. Really do. Still short. You know, when we say short, we look at this, and I know we've put it out there and we've put these proposals out there. And Robin, Reed, I'm going to ask you to let me endure just a little. We did do one thing. We had our first meeting and decided to put RFPs out. And I think what that proved out in this whole situation, I mean, because the discussion is private, public. You know, when I look at this, I'm not totally opposed to some form of private, but I am opposed to some form of privatization taking the whole thing over. For one reason, and Robin, would you please mind to share with me real quick? Can I indulge you? Do you mind if she comes up with this? I want her to share this, and I'm proud we've done this, and thank God for Boston Mountain, because here's our problem. We didn't have any money to do it. Robin did do it. Would you like to share a bit?
Please identify yourself.
Okay, I'm the director at Boston Mountain Regional Solid Waste Management District, and we also operate our used tire programs. So in 2000, are you wanting me to discuss our partnership? Okay.
Close as you can, please.
So in 2022, we entered into a public-private partnership contract with Jordan Disposal, and this was to construct a tire disposal facility on our property. And it was completed and began operation in September of 23. And it's been really exciting. first quarter, we've had a 33% reduction in hauling costs, which is very significant for us. So this has been something that we're looking towards to, and hopeful that we can replicate, continue to have operate at our district.
Did you hear, Sheriff, the proposal we got back on we put our RFPs out for Friday?
Yes, so we did with our RFPs, open it up and advertise it. So we did receive several public proposals as well as private proposals. The lowest bid that we received for collecting tires at a facility and disposing of them was $5 per tire.
That's on the small car.
Yes, on a passenger tire. This did not include the XL tires, which were significantly higher.
Thank you. Point I want to make is this, obviously, it's consumers of the state of Arkansas we've got to look after and look out for. We really believe with our particular operations and, you know, we're in the 19 county district now, that if we can get just a little bit of help, and I've even talked about this, some potential ARP money, narrow the scope considerably. This says the only place that money can be used is on capital outlay items for tire processing. As you all know, and I'm gonna say I'm a country boy, I put a dairy cooperative together back in 1991. And the thing we all learned, those 18 liters that run up and down the road, they don't run up and down the road for free. So, you know, what we're asking for, we've come a long way. We had us a wreck. We've got a director back there. He's been with us since 2015. 2015, we were the epitome of what you don't want to do. We basically stripped the thing down, got rid of managers, assistant managers, started all over, and thank God for legislation passed it, put audit into our operation every third year. We've come a very long way. We've got a facility. We've got, we sell mulch, we sell wire, we strip wire out of it. I hope today, and we're the example of what we're trying to accomplish and be, because we keep getting into this. We feel like it can be done publicly with a public enterprise or a public-private enterprise with some public input at a cheaper rate, because here's what's at stake, folks. Right now, when you go get a set of tires, you pay $3. If privatization takes this thing over and corners the market, I'm just gonna call it what it is, your $3 a tire days are over. She proved that with RFP we put out, $5 a tire. We're just asking that this is truly a team effort. Our district, I told them two things when I took over as chairman in 2015. Two comments I made 10 mayors and 9 county judges not very happy. The free ride's over, the thing will be universal. And I think that's what's got to come with us today. It is a team effort. We're within. Shane, ADEQ said 257. Our number is 282. We're within 30 of this thing. The district we're in, the UTI 1 district, got about a third of the tires in the state. Okay, we're doing probably 3 million plus tires a year. I can do the math pretty good. 30 cents on 3 million tires is about $900,000. And I promise you this, if we can get some help with some capital outlay items, and I'm gonna say it's for no personnel costs, no nothing, strictly equipment. We're on the 5-yard line in our little district, West River Valley. We can help solve the problem, and that's the thing that nobody's really talked about. We got a heck of a problem out there with a bunch of oversized tires. We've got 35 of them piled up, Justin. 3,500. 3,500, I'm sorry, misspoke. But it's not just in our district, it's all over the state. With the equipment such as that, you're not looking at hauling this stuff away. You're looking, I call it cradle to grave. Cradle to grave, you take your process equipment, you process this stuff, you value add as much of it as you can. But the less you have to haul this stuff, the better off you are. And I encourage this plan. It's a step in probably the right direction, because what the UTTP 1 has done with consolidating these, it puts us more in a collaborative stance where we can take and discuss and talk and create some efficiencies. But at the same time, it says in this letter about October, you may be getting your money on a pro rata basis. And folks, we got the same problem everybody else has got. We can't write checks and run an operation. We can't fund it. So we're close. We're real close. I just wanted you to know, you know, we've done that RFP. I'm glad we did, because we know where the private sector is at. And I'm going to say this, we're responsible for John Q. Public. The people we represent, it's our public, and it's incumbent upon us to give them the best bang for their buck. And I believe with this, what we're looking at, and hopefully our legislature is going to come to this, that we're going to be able to make this thing work and work real well. Thank you. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions of the judge? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Allen.
All right, commissioners, you have, before you there was a letter that you received that we sent on behalf of DEQ. And there is also a proposed minute order that we can get to here in a minute. As our commenters shared, and we appreciate the judges for being here and, Ms. Reed for getting pulled in for, additional comments. And we thank the representatives for the 4 used tire programs for being here today. We have a lot of folks that came. We appreciate y'all being here to help with this item. So commissioners, this is the letter that we transmitted. This is a little bit of a different thing than some of the stuff we usually do. So we went back and forth on the best way to sort of communicate where we are and what's going on. So I'm going to try to hit a couple of highlights of what you have before you and the decision point that's up. As was alluded to in the comments, there were legislative changes. Act 713 of 2023 made some changes to the Used Tire Recycling and Accountability Act. The major change, and as was alluded to in Judge Hart's comments, was the consolidation of the various, I guess, the 10 tire programs across the state into 4. So we are here today because with that consolidation, there were a number of things in the legislation about what the new programs needed to do. The kind of major item was for them to do a consolidated business plan, and from that to establish what their reimbursement rate would be for reimbursement on processed tires. Previously, each of the individual programs had a rate of their own, and now we're trying to consolidate those. We're here to advance consolidating those into 4 rates for each of the 4 programs. It is before you all today because in the way the state law reads, rate increases, and since these are newly established rates, and they're increases for many of the programs, but especially because these are really brand new programs, those come before you. And then what will happen, depending on your action today, if you approve the minute order that we submitted, we will take it to legislative council, and the legislature will have to approve it before the rates are final. So what you have is for each of the 4 programs, Northwest, there's a proposed rate of $2.82 per tire. And again, these are for the passenger size tire, or I guess for all tires. But the Northeast is $2.86, Southwest is $2.80, and Southeast is $2.90. These were submitted. We did have some back and forth with our staff, reviewed the business plans. We had some updates, additional information, and some tweaks to those rates that were submitted. But these are the final rates. And so we've concluded our review at the staff level and feel like we have good, solid rates and a business plan to bring to you all. We're proposing approving them. We're bringing this to the commission for approval. As was alluded to by I think Judge Hart, and I think Judge McMillan may have mentioned it as well. DEQ has met on a number of occasions now, and I think Secretary Corey and I presented to the Association of County Judges. We met with some other county judges. We talked with the tire programs, tried to walk through this change with them the best we can, and provide as much information as we can. We did include in the packet that you have, there was a review done by legislative audit that sort of broke down. We included it primarily so you could kind of see what happens to the $3 rim removal fee, where it goes and what bucket it goes into. Really, the end of the day, their audit had determined there was $2.31 left after DFA. The retailers take their money or take their portion that they're authorized to receive. DFA takes theirs. We have some administrative costs we can retain. And the number that we have shared with the judges based on our review and our willingness to forego some program administration costs, as well as not undertaking some of the abatement that we would like to do, but there's money authorized for abatement, is we had targeted this number of $2.57 a tire. Because of where we are, and they've actually had some healthy revenue collections from the rim removal fees, some of those additional portions that we have foregone We have built up, some reserve in that. And that was why when we transmitted the letter to you, we indicated that we, to the best of our ability, and all these folks in this room can tell you much better than I can. There's lots of fluctuation in costs on their end, but there's also a fluctuation in how many tires people are buying and how much we're getting in revenue. And also on their processing level, how many can be processed. But with the best prediction we could have, we feel like we definitely would get through the final quarter of 24, which would be paid in the spring or just after the first year in 25. We actually think that we can likely get in an additional quarter or two if things continue in the trend that they have been. But being conservative, we did want to draw that to y'all's attention, and that's where we are, and not in the pro rata language that was referenced in the letter that's in the statute. That's the process that is there, and we bring that up not to complicate the matter, but we wanted you as a commission to understand that's kind of where we are. That also is what's driving, I think, the concerns, and we appreciate the judges sharing those. But for what we have today and the action that we are tasked with taking under the legislation that was passed, it was for us to look at rates. If we gave us the authority to ask questions about them when we got a good rate, to propose their approval. And so that's what we're bringing to you today, asking this commission and in that minute order to approve the rates as submitted to us, and those rates that I've listed off, and they're listed in the letter for each of the 4 districts. And so that's what we have. That's what we're asking you to do. And right now we feel that the program is in a pretty stable place, and will continue even with these somewhat higher rates. We think it will be able to continue for a time, and some of the conversations that will need to be had going forward as we continue to monitor. But I think for the decision that's before this commission, we have a complete packet and the best plans that we could get in reasonable rates the judges articulated from how they got to where they were. I do know there are representatives from the districts here. If y'all have questions, we included their business plans and the documentation with that. I think there's representatives here that can answer those specifics, or if you have other questions, programmatic or otherwise, I'll try to answer those or have our staff. But other than that, we ask that you all consider the proposed minute order that's been submitted to approve those rates. And as I said, that will subsequently be taken to ALC if y'all do act to approve it.
Carol, I have a question. What you're asking us to approve is the minute order, which refers to the used tire program. And those used tire programs are the ones that you have identified in your letter to the commission. Yes.
So the rates that were included in the letter, and those were the rates that were the business plans that were submitted. Those were those. So it's the for Northwest UTP, it's $2.82. Northeast, it's $2.86. Southwest, it's $2.80, and Southeast, it's $2.90. Those are the ones we're requesting.
If I remember correctly, the used tire fee is set statutorily. So is there an appetite to go back to the legislature and to address that? Having bought 2 sets of tires this year, and one being run flats for my wife's car, I thought I got out quite well. What the used tire fee I paid, I don't think it's reflective of obviously the cost of disposing of these and dealing with them. Is there any effort to ask the legislature to deal with this? Is this, what I'm seeing here, maybe I'm mischaracterizing, this is a bridging gap till someone goes to the legislature and we try to get a resolution to this?
So the first, we commend you for being a good husband and springing for some good tires. So we hope you get credit for that. You're correct. The $3 fee is set in the statute. And during the previous session, there were some questions about doing that very thing. There was some proposals that would have increased or changed that fee, or there's a number of things that were on the table and discussed. Ultimately, that did not move forward. Fee stayed where it was. Part of the changes that were made were this restructuring effort or the consolidation effort that we've gone through. I think the understanding is, and it's been, I think, shared by the judges, I think we have an action today that needs to happen to kind of let these programs start really functioning the way they're designed. Without being able to speak to or predict to what's going to happen in the future, I think that the concern articulated by two of the judges, I know there's probably several others in here and other programs that have some concerns. I anticipate that they will continue those conversations and wanting to share the information about the pressures and strengths that they feel. So, and beginning of 2025, we'll be in a regular session. So about the time that we're looking at that we feel comfortable, there's more confident based on our projections, we'll get into that range. It'll be about the time the legislature can take it up. So we anticipate there'll probably be conversations around those, but certainly can't speak on behalf of others or commit to the future. But I think that's a pretty safe that there will be conversations about it and perhaps proposals or suggestions for changes of some stripe.
You might have any other questions?
Caleb, first of all, I appreciate yourself, your staff reviewing these plans. I'm concerned that this isn't a solution, right? It's just kind of a short, it's a short gap, it's kind of fixed. And so, I'm not going to commit any kind of future plan except for kind of getting it down. But, from a public health standpoint, long-term management of waste items is very important. If this thing got out of hand, we could have problems. I'm disappointed that it's not a long-term plan.
Well, in Dr. Lamont, we certainly appreciate that. We agree, I think public health side and the environment side, we certainly have concerns about there's a number of things that how they're handled. And, I know these judges can tell us a lot of stories about, where folks have tossed them in a ditch or other things that cause the public health concerns you have, the environmental concerns we have. We hear you understand on the sort of long-term, long range, and to Commissioner Melton's question as well. The challenge we have right now is that there is a discrete action that we have that was teed up based on the last action of the last session. I know our secretary at times somewhat was a bit of a quip, but in some ways it kind of is apropos that he referred to it as the tire patch. I think there was an understanding when that was done that likely future conversations would have to happen, potential future statutory changes would have to happen. I think folks involved in the drafting of where the legislation landed, I think everyone was aware that it was not going to ultimately solve. There was a hope that it would, but the likelihood with cost pressures where they are in a statutorily set fee that likely this would be revisited. So I think that while I can't commit to where it's going for sure, I'm very confident those discussions are going to happen. I think some proposals will come forward. Not put words in any of the judges' mouth, but I think they have some ideas of things that they've been working on. I think others have as well. But I do want to stress for today and what we have in front of us that it's an importance, because right now, the existing rates from the previous programs range from $2.23 to there's some that are up around $3. So a lot of these programs right now are getting reimbursed at a lower rate. So I think this is an important step down the path that we recognize and acknowledge that concern. And like I said, I'm very confident this will be a step as part of a longer, almost a longer conversation. That's mixing my metaphors. So,
and I agree. Again, I appreciate all your efforts.
I took an opportunity last night I got up at 4 this morning, my usual time, and I made a spreadsheet of some of the information that this plan supplied to us last night. And this is not to be critical, but from a management standpoint and unit cost, these prices are all over the place. And I realize there's some economies of scale and stuff, but I'm not going to say there's any fat in there, but I was excited to hear what Judge Hart said and Robin said about trying to be very proactive and looking for new solutions to this stuff, because people are resistant to more fees. And this is something that's been a problem for almost 9 years or whatever I've been on this commission. is this tire program, which leads me to my next question is, we had an occasion a few years ago in the Northeast where someone left a big mess and then not only went bankrupt, he left the country and we got stuck cleaning that up. Well, going into these funds to support this, is that going to put us in jeopardy if we have to go out and clean up another mess?
So a portion of the projects that we have not been pursuing, that we are authorized to draw some funds from this pot of money would be for abatement, which would have to do that. And right now, we think given the strains on the fund and where they are and what it costs for reimbursement, likely going to be foregoing abatement. And there's not saying we're not going to do any of it, but from doing it through funds from this program, our anticipation is that for the time being, we'll be foregoing that. But in a little bit to Dr. McMullen's point, that's a good incentive for us to continue to look for solutions and what we can do going forward, because we recognize we're very concerned about that, but we're trying to strike the right balance of what we have and how the statute is where we are right now.
I guess my final question to you is, we've got a lot of people here. Judge Hart, or Judge McMillan has spoken to Judge Hart. If we approve this, is everyone going to be happy with this as a bridging solution?
We have reps from the tire programs. If you would like to ask them, I don't want to put them on the spot, but our position would be, and you're certainly welcome to ask them for questions, is that this, we hear their concerns as we've reviewed the plans. To your question about, is there fat to be trimmed in here at all? We asked some questions about the plans, and there were some changes that were made, and some of the rates came down a little bit. I do think it's a little bit telling that they all landed in pretty close proximity, just to show it feels like we're getting very close to the point where it's a pretty solid number, but also the consolidation as a program and having 4 of these rather than 10 or 11 or 13 or whatever happened in the past. It's a bit of a new place for all of them, and I think as they work through that, we hope that there'll be continued cost savings. But in the interim, we hear and understand their concerns about the costs, everyday costs they're incurring, and we think that the approval of these plans that are before us moves the ball. Not to steal Judge Hart's analogy about being on the 5-yard line. I think we've advanced the ball. This would advance the ball down the field. Certainly not thinking it solves every solution or concern, but certainly if you would like to ask them, I think each of the programs have a rep here that may weigh in, and but that would be our
Commission's pleasure. You want to hear any?
Chairman, if I could, I've got a question, a follow-up for the chief. Chief, if the commission does adopt these rates and 6 months, 8 months, 12 months down the road, there's a determination after you've had enough evidence that the rates are insufficient or highly unlikely the rates are too much, you're not legally prohibited from coming back to the commission and asking us to retweak those rates, are you? This isn't a one and done, is it?
I wouldn't think so. Certainly if there were a situation in the future where I think a rate increase could be asked for. I mean, really the way the statute's written, it talks about, I think says rate increase or something along those lines. That would be quite a conversation if we had a reason to reduce it, because
I can't imagine you would, but yeah.
But certainly if there was interest in the future, it's not one and done, or if they find out that there's a significant change in the cost structure and they feel like more funding is necessary, then I do think that's the path. You guys are part of the path. And I think it's not a one and done, I would not say.
Commission like to hear from any of the other solid waste districts? Any other comments?
I have no others unless there's any questions. Just
More questions? Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, you have the minute order before you. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the business plans and reimbursement rates submitted by each of the 4 solid waste districts as set out in the January 12, 2024 letter to the commission by Director Austin.
Motion adoption Commissioner Vandergrift, second by Commissioner. Any discussion from the other commissioners? Will clerk call the roll, please?
Richard McMillan,
Yes.
Doug Mountain, Rusty Moss, Chris Racy,
Yes.
David Manager,
Yes.
Wes Moore.
Yes.
Minute order passes 5-0. If everyone of the commissioners be sure to hang around to sign that minute order. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming, and we'll be hanging around if you want to visit with us afterwards. We stand adjourned.